Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about my opinions on what Hoyo should do. In my opinion, to improve Genshin Impact. This is a game which I love a lot. And as someone who is passionate about this game and hopes for a long life of Genshin, it's within my interest to discuss with the community what I feel should change. Before I begin, I would like to encourage anyone watching to comment below their thoughts about my takes, and any things I may have missed, as it's my firm belief that communication is important in making a game as great as it could be. I am making this video after watching one of Tektone's latest videos, where he reacts to a video explaining some key issues within not only the Genshin community, but the gacha space as a whole. This issue is simplified by two words: defending mediocrity. This basically means that people will defend companies' malpractices and brush off criticisms with phrases such as, "It's free, so why are you complaining?" or "It's a gacha game. What do you expect?" These phrases give people lower standards of these types of games and allow companies like Hoyo to walk all over us and refuse to improve and innovate because there's no pressure to. Also, Tektone, if you are watching this, you are bald and sexy. Love your content. Now back to Genshin and what I think needs to change. Firstly, I would like to talk about the wishing system in Genshin and how it compares to other games. In Genshin, there are two limited character banners, and a weapon banner, which has both of the limited characters' weapons on the same banner at any given time. And occasionally, there's a Chronicle Wish banner. In terms of the odds of getting what you want, the chance of winning the character on the banner, you have a 50-50 chance. As for the desired weapon, you have lower odds of 37.5%, 62.5%. This, in my opinion, is a terrible approach to the gacha system. I believe that the weapon banner should be separated and the odds of winning the weapon should either match Honkai's Star Rail at a 75%, 25% odds, or preferably do what Wuthering Waves do and make it a guarantee for the weapon banner. As for the character banner, the 50-50 odds is not awful as you have even odds, but there are still improvements to be made. An approach Genshin has took for the characters is the capturing radiance system, where if you crunch the numbers, the odds of winning is a 55%, 45% chance. However, this is misleading as the flat odds aren't 55-45, but are still 50-50. This diagram on screen is how it actually works. In my opinion, they should lower the amount of 50-50 loses it takes to guarantee this mechanic. By one, having to lose three 50-50s. To get this is really depressing and no one wants to have to do that. Now on to the weapon banner and the Chronicle Wish banner. As I mentioned before, splitting the weapons should be implemented, but another thing present on these banners is the fate point. This does not transfer across banners, which is really stupid. If they made it transfer across banners, if you lost on a weapon banner, you can at least guarantee the next one you want, even if the banners change. This applies to the Chronicle Wish banner also. Imagine losing a 50-50 to a Kiki. You don't even guarantee your next character on the Chronicle Wish banner afterwards to then lose to another Kiki. Finally, on the topic of banners, the standard banner should get the one-time thing where 300 pulls allows you to select a standard 5-star. In my opinion, though, this isn't perfect either. I believe that from the 5-star selector, you should be able to choose a weapon of your choice as well. Additionally, 300 standard pulls take quite a while, so lowering this to 200 wouldn't be a bad idea. Now on to another common source for criticism, resin. This resource is the backbone to any account where you need it to build characters. In Genshin, you get one resin every 8 minutes, but in other gachas like HSR, Zenless Zone Zero, and Wuthering Waves, it's one every 6 minutes. When you do the maths, this adds up to 180 resin per day for Genshin, but for the other games, it's 240, which is a 25% increase. That's the first change I would make. Secondly, I would increase the resin cap to an absolute minimum of 240. However, I think that it should be even higher. Not everyone can log in every day and spend resin. HSR has a system where after you are capped on fuel, you can still gain fuel but at a rate 3 times slower, which caps at 2400, which still overall punishes inactivity. This, in my opinion, is a step in the right direction, but still not complete. I believe that the cap should just be 2400, which allows players to not log in for 10 days and still not waste resin. Since I am talking about resin, let me talk about condensed resin. The cap on this item is 5, but I think that makes 0 sense, and the cap should increase to 100. to allow people to stockpile resin for their own purposes. Now, the final thing I want to mention about resin is domains. There are two things I want to talk about here: daily restrictions and quantity of rewards gained. As for daily restrictions, this doesn't belong in the game as having to wait for certain days to farm a material is stupid. Now on to quantity of rewards. Since we recently got an increase to the world level maximum, I believe an increase to the max difficulty of domains should be implemented to make the resin we spend more valuable. It's so annoying to spend 40 resin on talent books to not even get 2 purple books worth of materials. With that topic wrapped up, I want to talk about quests and story next. Me personally, I enjoy the story and pay attention to it, as it's a big part of the game which I like. I am aware I am not everyone and some people do not care about the dialogue. For this reason, adding a skip button would be a good feature. The way Wuwa does this is great, where if you choose to skip dialogue, a concise description of what's happening shows up before you skip. So even if you don't sit through all of the dialogue, you still know what's happening. Another aspect I think should improve in quests is voice acting. I'm not talking about the quality of voice acting, but instead the quantity and presence of it. World quests should be voiced as they are lengthy, and to make it less boring and engaging. For more people, a voice will help with that. As for the main character, they are the literal main character, yet we almost never hear them. This to me makes no sense. And as for the voice actor situation in English, this whole situation is stupid in the way that Hoyo has handled it. If I remember correctly, this whole thing started because Hoyo refuses to sign a document stating that the voice actors will not be replaced by AI. This should be a no-brainer, and I believe that they have the right to strike from work until justice is given. On to the next topic, events. I find it annoying how the main event of the patch is not available for the majority of the patch. In this current version of 5.3, Lantern Rite, which gives over 1,000 primos from the event, itself isn't available earlier for those wanting to pull on phase 1 characters or weapons. I will get into this topic more a little bit later. As for the time gating, this is another annoying thing where I would like the entire event to be unlocked on day 1. I do not want to wait sometimes up to 6 days for everything to be available. I want the jangling skin, but I need to wait days to access it. Now on to the actual events, I would like to see 2 things. Firstly, I want some key events to be permanent and available to play in the future, especially those which give weapons. HSR does this, and so should Genshin. Missing out on free sometimes. Really good weapons can be a detriment to F2P players, who don't always have access to the best gotcha's 4-star weapons. Secondly, I want to see less filler repetitive events. Some of these are fine, but if that's all they are, then it's really boring and just a chore. An additional note is the free 10 pull event. Star Rail and other games get every patch. Genshin doesn't have this, which is such a simple addition to slightly improve the game, especially because the amount of pulls available per patch is lower than that off other gotchas games. Now, talking about the Battle Pass, there isn't too much I want to say about this, but one thing I can point out is Sanctifying Elixir. This is only available from the Battle Pass outside of the one-time sources like Natlan Exploration and the Table of Tona Sigil rewards. This resource is really good, especially for those goblet, especially Anemo Vermilion goblets, you need to improve your characters. By adding one to the free pass, more players can access these crafted artifacts more often. Now, I've done a lot of yapping so far, but there's just a few things I want to mention outside of Genshin itself, but instead talking about the shady, manipulative practices of Hoyo. The example I am referring to is the recent drama where Hoyo graciously give us 20 free pulls. Wow, so good. But wait, they give it to us after the Archon goes away. I see no reason for this to be this way and should have given us these pulls at the beginning of 5.3. Another example of this happening is Last Lantern Rite, noticing a pattern here, where the 3rd anniversary rewards to reward us Genshin players for filling the pockets of the employees is 3 wishes. Yes, that is it. 3 wishes. 480 primo gems worth. This is honestly a massive slap in the face and a big letdown. And the fact that Hoyo pretty much brushed this whole drama under the rug is even worse. What I'm trying to get at is that Hoyo needs to use their brains. Why would half of their decisions even go through is a mystery to me. Backtracking a little bit to Mavuika, this is quite bad. Mavuika is so insanely broken that she power creeps even Nouvelette. But there's a catch. She feels like shit to play without Natlan units, especially Sitlali, and what a coincidence, Sitlali is available at the same time as Mavwika. This is obviously a way to entice people to pull. Not everyone has enough pulls to get both, and they need to really evaluate future units and their dependence on specific supports to avoid this. Now, finally, after all of this talking, I am done yapping. I probably missed something, but this is something I've wanted to make to really just share my thoughts. The main takeaway I want you to take from this is that change is possible, but only if the community works together. Hoyo will walk all over you, and half of you will beg for them to do it more. I am referring to a specific mint picker who happens to be green.
I should be the only mother getting praise in the Genshin community because I don't spend money on Genshin Impact. If you want a...
What the f?
There are many shills who glaze everything Hoyo does, and this affirms Hoyo's practices. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.